Welcome to the Healing with Love Summit. Step into a world where we choose to move with kindness, love, and acceptance for our neighbors on this planet, no matter their perceived differences. Choose to listen with an open heart. Choose to come from a place of learning and sharing. Welcome. I'm Larissa Russell of Creative You Healing, and I now have with me Dave Epstein. So welcome, Dave.
Thank you so much, Larissa. So excited to be here with you today.
I am really excited. I just want to, add a little tidbit that you are married to one of my favorite people, Deborah Epstein. And so, I'm really excited to have you and get your take on things as well, because we have amazing conversations together, her and I. So for those who don't know you, which probably a lot of people, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Certainly. Thank you. Okay, Dave Epstein. I'm 59 years old. I live in Sedona, Arizona with my awesome wife, Deb. I am blind. I've got a condition called retinitis pigmentosa, which is a condition that has taken away my peripheral vision, dark adaptation, night vision. So I'm really left with about 3 degrees central vision. What does that mean? That's about like looking through paper towel tubes by now, about paper towel tubes. So not totally blind, a little bit of useful vision, but not much. So I'd call it extreme tunnel vision. And again, I live in Arizona. In my sighted days, I was a surveyor. I was also a forester and wildland firefighter. So the love for the outdoors, the wilderness, hiking, building and maintaining trails, it really is in my blood. So as a blind transplant to Sedona with all these 400 glorious miles of hiking trails, I was home. I knew, all right, this is where I want to be. I've got lots and lots of trails to tackle. As a blind person came with a number of challenges. Love to unpack that with you through this conversation.
Yeah, I'm sure it did. And I want to touch on what you said about having some vision,
Mhm.
because this is one of the things that often comes up about different labels that we give, right?
Yes.
And it's like, well, if you have vision, you're not really blind, right? I know this one. And so can you just explain why that is not correct?
Infinite blessings, Larissa. You just cracked the egg. You just cracked open the entire message for me here today. 90% of the world's blind community has some useful vision. Okay, that's an interesting fact. That's something that I think most of the sighted community doesn't know, that most of us have some useful vision.
Mhm.
Obviously not the same, person to person. What does it mean? For me, that means that I have extreme tunnel vision, and yet I can see. What I can see is about 20/25 corrected, but it's not much. Some people are able to see shadows, light, motion, and this is really the root of a huge issue in the blind community, that where do we belong? One of many interesting questions: where do I belong? Am I in the sighted world, or am I in the blind world? Um, some people have it better than me. They're not quite as progressed. Maybe they're able to drive with enough useful vision to still be able to operate a motor vehicle somewhat safely. This this issue is really why I'm here today. Um, so often we are accused to our faces of, you're faking being blind.
Mm.
I'm not sure why I would ever do that, carrying around that bright, shiny white and red reflective stick in front of me. Where's the joy? Where's the thrill in faking being blind? I'm not faking being blind. I would actually prefer to refer to that as I'm faking being sighted. And this all goes to what world I choose to be in. Um, my condition, RP, retinitis pigmentosa, it's a progressive condition. That is, when I was younger, I was driving, I was sighted, I was a surveyor, I did all sorts of normal things a sighted person will do until I couldn't, until I needed the training on the stick, the cane, and ambulation and orientation mobility. Now I know what the stick can do. I know how to safely get around as a blind person, and yet I'm still excited, and yet I can still see. Very interesting side story. At one point, I was training for a guide dog, and I had to hone my skills. I had to really know how that cane can serve me at intersections, on street crossings, on sidewalks. Um, I ended up getting hit 3 times practicing being blind. But again, what world do I recognize myself in? Trying to be blind, practicing being blind, very difficult. It's an interesting lesson in acceptance.
Yeah.
So many different directions I can go here. What world do I choose to be? At the end of the day, my vision does tend to disappear on me. As night falls, the condition just really makes itself louder. Should I drop something off the counter? These aren't going to do it anymore. I mean, I'm just wasting my time trying to look for whatever it was I dropped. Hopefully the grate before my dog gets to it. Drop down and use my hands. Search for it like a blind person, and I save myself 20 minutes time. If we're hanging out at night, sipping vino and a couple candles going and just talking, listening to Pink Floyd or something, honestly, Larissa, there's nothing to see. What I do see that late at night is very glary, very painful, and I would just choose to close my eyes. It's more comfortable being blind in that scenario. Couple different difficult concepts for people to hear or grasp, but at some point I do have to choose what world I will be in with this condition. A totally blind friend of mine says, dude, you've got it so much more difficult. You're in both worlds. I've got it easy. I'm blind. I'm in only one world. There's no choice. I don't have the choice to turn on a light and fiddle with my earbud cords. I don't have that choice. So
Yeah.
Here I am.
And I think that's really important, because we don't know what somebody else is going through, right? And that's we often use judgment as a way of dividing people up. And we need judgment for safety. We judge initially, but then we need to take a step back and really think about what we're judging and how we're judging. Are we in danger? And if not, can we allow ourselves to be open to the fact that other people are going through something, or have a different way of thinking, or having a different way of doing things? And I think that's a big part of why we're doing this summit, is because of this divisiveness that we have. And when you see, like you said, you're like a foot in each community, and it's like, where do you belong? And ultimately, why should that be judged? Why do you need to belong in one or the other, right? But it brings a whole set of issues, whether you're on this side or this side. And what are some of those things that you have dealt with, even in the blind community, where people are like, you don't belong here?
Great question. Great question. I think my experiences being called out as a blind or not blind enough person, not in the blind community, very well accepted and received. The white cane really solidifies us. It's almost a uniform we get it. Hey, my cane crashed into your cane, Yahoo. My experiences come really from, I don't want to sound negative, but I typically call them the sighted hordes, those sighted people who don't get it, uh, who don't understand or recognize what a white cane is. It's not a hockey stick. It's not a funny looking stick. And when a senior citizen, a geriatric, an 80 some odd year old woman would plow into me and really get on my case for why I didn't see her. It baffles me that at that stage in somebody's life, they don't recognize what a white cane is. But that's me. That's my issue. And I recognize that. That's my expectation of the community. You all are supposed to get it. You all are supposed to recognize and give me the right of way. Not necessarily. I'm just another, guy on the bus. My experiences of being, let's say, attacked as a blind person are fairly few, but man, they're brutal. Where one day, just a handful of months ago, Deb and I were up in Flagstaff going to a restaurant, and we parked in front of a parking meter. And as I got out to feed the meter, a person came up to me and said, right to my face, what business do you have driving a car? I said, dude, I'm not driving a car. I'm passengering. Well, what business do you have doing what you're doing? I said, what am I doing? I said, you're feeding a parking meter. Really? I was baffled. I was baffled. What business do I have feeding a parking meter? And it was at this point in our conversation that I realized he's not joking. This person is serious, and he's really coming after me. I looked down at my cane, and at the time I was actually carrying a cane that I developed, which is a super strong mobility cane made of titanium. And I'm looking at this cane, I'm looking at this untethered person in front of me. I'm like, okay, I've got a choice to make here. Now I've got to keep myself safe because I'm in a situation. Fortunately, Deb, as God bless Deb, we love Deb. Her mama bear emerged. And I'm not sure if you've ever met mama bear, but Deb's mama bear emerged, and that her right hand turned into a big bear claw, and she's like, "What business do you?" And she just totally championed me. That she just stepped in and said, "You know what, Mr. Crazy Person, you really ought back off, or bad things are going to really start happening." It was a scary moment, really for both of us. And it was eye-opening that I hear stories like this from my fellow blind sisters out there, who I really feel they're the vulnerable ones. They are the ones who need the protection, who need the mama bears. But I never expected it to come to me in my direction, and when it did, it really caught me off guard. So it's out there. People who see the white cane and have that expectation that I should be just tucked in a corner, come along, go along to get along, just walk by me, do as you're told, be the obedient blind person. We're not. We have lives, and we get to exist in our community. So completely unprepared for that kind of attack. But now I know it's out there. I know I'm not impervious to these kinds of assaults.
Yeah.
Sure, I could be snide and come up with some really snide comments, but you know what? It really is our task to not only go through life with what grace we can, ambulating with our canes, but we're advocates, we're representatives of our community. And if somebody reaches out to help me and I don't want, I could be a jerk about it. I could say, do not grab. I could fight, or I could accept the help graciously. But if I lash out at somebody trying to help, that's probably the last time that person's going to try to help a blind or low vision individual, and nobody wins. So it is a fine line we get to go through of grace, acceptance, receiving of help, declining help politely, and knowing when there's an assault or an attack or some negative energy coming in our direction that might just make us unsafe. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a challenge. What a life.
It really is. And I think, no matter how you stand out in the world, there's different challenges. And, as a person who may look like you need more help, you don't necessarily need more help, but you might look like you need more help. What is something that people could do in that situation if they see you and they think you need more help?
Oh, I'm getting all emotional. Nobody's asked that question before, and that's probably the most important question in the world to us. I've never been asked that before. How do I answer? Ask.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, where do I run into these scenarios? Airports, where it's very busy, a lot of confusion, a lot of people, where I might not be able to see which direction to go. Where's the baggage claim? Where's my next gate? And in those scenarios, I'll just be standing there, and I need to take that 3 degrees I have remaining and just scan. Where are the signs? Where are the majority of the people that I just flew with? Which way are they walking? And as opposed to somebody grabbing my shoulder and saying, "Where are you going?" or "Let me take you," ask, "Do you need assistance?" And I would say 9 times out of 10, I'd say yes. I'm okay with asking for help. I'm not a typical guy. I'm okay asking for help, and I appreciate it. But somebody just coming up and assuming I need help, taking my arm or grabbing a shirt, that really doesn't wash, and that is quite scary. It's very daunting. So I think the kindest thing would be to ask, can I help you? Or a slight introduction. Hi, I'm standing on your left. Can I help you? I'm familiar. Can I offer you a tricep? Anything like that. And if they're okay with no, then everybody's good. Again, people might demand to help. I will help. I appreciate. So ask. Great. Thank you so much, Larissa. That's a great question.
I think it's really important because, we perceive things about other people and they may not be correct. This is part of the problem that we have, right? And so to see you walking with a cane and assume that you need help, like, who are we to decide that? And so
Exactly.
I think asking is really important,
Yes, I'm laughing because that brings out a very good point where I'm standing in the middle of an airport, LAX for Pete's sake, and someone comes up to me and says, "Can I help you?" I'm thinking, well, I somehow got to the middle of Terminal C and LAX by myself. No small feat so far. So I might not need help going from here to the gate right next to me. It's that assumption that I'm helpless, and I just got dropped off into the middle of the airport, and now I'm a deer in the headlights, right? I got there somehow, so I appreciate the ask, and I don't always need the help. But there's a fine line between not needing it and needing it, and that's something that we as blind people are I don't want to say we're constantly dealing with, but it was pointed out to me, actually. I'm a coach for a camp for blind kids out here in Arizona, and it was pointed out to me by an athlete, by a little blind athlete, that we're teaching life and death skill sets. And it took a 12-year-old to point out to me, we're teaching these kids how to cross streets blind.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm getting handfuls of kids down into the Grand Canyon hiking blind. These skill sets are vital. They're very, very important. So we have to take it all seriously. And going from safe to not safe could be a matter of one step the wrong direction towards a traffic intersection. Fine lines. So
yeah. And as someone who loves the outdoors, and you love hiking, you have created a cane that you can use in the hiking world, so that you can do that. Can you just tell us a little bit about that, so that I have another question after that, but
certainly, blind hiker. I realized on a hike with Deb that I needed help. I needed something to keep me safe on the trails. I learned this. I came up with this amazing fact. One day, the sun set. I knew I was in trouble. I was in the middle of orientation and mobility training, so I had a taste of what the cane can do, what it's supposed to do, mobility, obstacles, terrain changes, navigation. Well, that's just what I needed out on the trails. So when I ran into trouble that day, my first thought is I need a cane out here, but a super strong cane that I can lean on, that can keep me upright if I'm falling over, that I can use for braking if I'm going too fast. A strong cane that can take my weight. Now, the canes that are on the market today are not made for that. In fact, our very first lesson is never lean on a cane. Why? Because it's not made for it. Why? Because it's too light. Why? Because the materials need to be light and flexible. Why? And ultimately, I couldn't get a good answer. So when I needed that supportive mobility cane and there wasn't one out there, I got creative, went to a local hiking store, came home with a pair of trekking poles, and went to town. What do I need? What kind of handle grip serves me? What kind of locking mechanism and extension mechanisms will serve me? What kind of tip is best for the trails for all terrains? And after two really strong iterations, I came up with an amazing cane. We're calling the all-terrain cane. The prototypes were interesting in that they were for me and me only. So I didn't mind that they didn't look like a mobility cane, that they didn't unfold effectively for a totally blind person. You know, I could get over that because I could see the writing on the shaft, and it served me until one day on the beach when I was in one of my awesome moods that nobody was on the beach that could identify with my blindness, and they couldn't understand my issues of the day. And I'm jumping up and down inside my head with my prototype saying, all we need is the right tools and we can get it done. And now I've got a community to get out onto the trails and the beaches. Not just me anymore, but us. So this prototype that doesn't look or function like a cane has to change. Ultimately, I came up with our production version of what we're calling the all-terrain cane, which is a 3-section folding cane. Okay, so the mechanism is what we're used to. It's red and white reflective. Right now, the world can recognize, and it's got a grip that I can choke up on as I'm hiking, adjusting my grip. I can adjust about 16 inches. And it's super strong, made of titanium alloy with stainless steel joints. So it holds all my weight and it gives me that strength and support, stability, and confidence out on the trails. And it's a game changer for me. And I dare say it's taking the blind community by storm. Really garnering some amazing interest.
Yeah. Yeah.
getting people onto the trails where we want to be. And it's not just for hiking, beaches, parks, and playgrounds. You know, where the Grand Dude's playground, you go from sand to rock to dirt to all these tripping hazards. All right. It's for everywhere we want to be that we might need a little bit of extra support. And it took me going against the norm, paradigm busting. You know, no, you're never supposed to lean on the cane. I find myself at trade shows and conferences in front of mobility instructors saying, okay, the first thing we're going to do is lean on it. And I'm expecting, you know, the rotten fruit and vegetables come flying towards me. But the response I'm getting is, it's about time. It's about time somebody said, you know, we need better tools. Uh, the hiking, the mobility cane is not to be weight bearing. But I say, why not? I've got a connection between my hand and the ground. Let it be useful. Do your job. If I'm listing hard to starboard and I've got the cane, you know, it's going to keep me upright. So huge success. And again, we're really opening up the eyes of the blind community that, you know, nobody puts baby in the corner anymore. We're here and we get to hike. We get to be on the beaches. We get to be part of community. We get to feed parking meters.
Mm-hmm. I think this is a really important part too, because this, you're saying this is opening up so many possibilities. And the fact that this has not come about any sooner, how much opportunity has been missed because of it? Like it's like we take a perceived disability and we decide, well, they have no value, so we're not going to worry about it. And you're showing that it doesn't matter what you perceive, we can do anything, and we just need the proper tools.
All we need are the proper tools. You're infinitely correct. I've got a great experience that happens time and time again on the trails that dovetails right into what you just said. That with the all-terrain cane in its existing form that is white and red reflective, Deb and I will be hiking, you know, the wilderness trails of Sedona, you know, right in our backyard, and we'll cross paths with other hikers. And just about every single time I get the same response where they'll approach us and I'm caning along, tapping and doing my thing. And they'll see me and they'll see a guy caning, and then we'll pass. And just about 100% of the time I'll hear behind me, wait, what? Or some other comment like, what did I just see? And you know, the synapses start firing that, okay, I saw a blind person walking with a cane, but we're in the backcountry, we're in the wilderness, and he's not just walking, he just scrambled over, you know, a ledge and, you know, bob and weaved around a couple of cactus plants. And it's not something that they normally see, a blind person hiking. And all we need are the right tools. Why not? What do I need out in the backcountry? Mobility, terrain changes, obstacle detection, navigation. And I let my 3% or 3 degrees of remaining vision, you know, look out and take in the scenery. Otherwise, why do it? Otherwise, I could stay in the garage on the treadmill. Let my eyes, you know, grab what let me see what I want to see, not my boots, you know, not the trail. There's an awful lot to see out here in Sedona. That's why I want to be out there. So
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a joy. It's a thrill to present myself, you know, as an ambassador to the sighted community out in the wilderness.
Yeah, I think that's really important to see something done differently, right? For people to know that it can be done differently. and the few reviews I've watched and things like that, like people are really excited about this cane that you've created. And I think, this is part of the perception we have as humans about other people, right? We, again, judge people based on our ideas. And and when we can open up to the fact that it doesn't matter who you are, what you look like, what we, have labeled you with, we can all do things. We're all human. We all have wants and needs. We all want, while you still have some of your sight, why wouldn't you want to be out there looking at the scenery?
Right. I've never, ever taken Sedona for granted. I appreciate every single day. Today is overcast and dreary, and my goodness, what a gorgeous day out there. Every single day is beautiful. So yeah, we all, you're absolutely right. We all have our selves, in all the various components, and we get to all participate in society, whatever that looks like, whatever our tools may be.
Yeah. And as we're participating in the world with other individuals, what is one thing you would like to leave people with in how to interact with people they may perceive as not like them?
Close your eyes, and I know it may be cliche, but put yourselves in the other person's skin. I've got a very special 12-year-old athlete friend who gets mercilessly bullied at school, and it tears my heart out to hear. And I get very angry when I hear of this, because she's such an angelic, sweet, beautiful soul. And my first thought on how to champion her would be to have her thrust a blindfold in the biggest bully's hands and say, "You think it's so easy? You try it for a day." Not going through life with grace with that kind of energy. But if we stop and provide that opportunity to experience life with two prosthetic eyes, or half a leg missing, or any one of a million issues, what would that be like? I have two awesome legs that work. What would it be like for somebody with a prosthetic? I can't even imagine prosthetic eyes, and this is from a 12-year-old instructing me on this. So what would it take to put yourself in that person's skin for a day, and see what happens? See what happens to that bully, and how his friends are going to accept him not being able to see. And is he going to cheat and look under the blindfold? And all these different iterations of this awesome scenario I am, to champion this 12-year-old. It's not easy. It's not easy to, how would I be with half a leg missing? I don't know. But that opportunity, that threat of an opportunity, I think is enough to wake people up to say, you know what, it may not be easy with no ears or eyes or function.
Yeah. I want to thank you so much, Dave, for being here, because I think these conversations are so important as we point out the differences of people, but also how we are all the same at the core. We're all the same. We want the same things. We want to be loved. We want to be accepted. We want to be able to move through the world with safety and do what feeds us. And I think it's important that we have these conversations because of that. So I just want to thank you so much for being here. Is there any final thoughts before we go?
I, I'm emerging from this conversation blessed. Um, I think you shed some very interesting lights on blindness, on acceptance, on the community. Amazing conversation. I didn't think I was going to go in the places I went. It was great to chat with you. A great experience, and yeah, I definitely feel the better for it. So I appreciate you and the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Dave. Oh, now I have two favorite people in Sedona. Look at that.
What good are favorite people in Sedona if you can't take advantage of them?
Well, thank you so much for being here today.
My pleasure, Larissa. Absolutely my pleasure.
Thank you for watching this interview. This interview was part of our Healing with Love Summit, which includes healing practices with each interview. If you're interested in learning more or purchasing the full summit with interviews and healing exercises, click the link below. Remember that it is a choice how we move through this world. Choose love. Love heals.